for the third time. Thank you for your patience, I think I've heard tonight. Welcome to the September 27th Health and Ed Committee meeting. We are starting late due to purchasing having some critical matters to discuss. That being behind us, we will call the roll, please.
Commissioner Oliver?
Present.
Commissioner Davidson?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson?
Here.
Commissioner Boyd?
Here.
Commissioner McMurray?
Here.
Commissioner Gooch?
Here.
Chairman Dodd?
Present.
Thank you.
Next order of business, Vice Chair Wilson, minutes, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I have reviewed the minutes from our previous meeting. I find them to be in order, and without objection, I move for their approval.
All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Carla, do we have any public comments signed up for tonight? All right, we will move on to Director Byron Cumbie and the Health Department report and budget amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hopefully you'll have our July outreach report there made available to you, Commissioners. Your health department continues to do good work for the people of Rutherford County, and we're proud to serve. In keeping with our mission to protect, promote, and improve the health and well-being of all people in Tennessee, in the first column there is we protect with our disease intervention efforts, immunizations, and immunizations, you might note they'll take a gentle rise in July, and then next month's report you'll see us enter the thousands that we've done of immunizations this month as we help children in Rutherford County get registered for school there. And the second column, as we promote with our health outreach, diabetes outreach, community participation, and there's an example there of an outreach event we did at Hobgood Elementary, their back to school event. And then finally in that third column, as we improve with our primary care services, dental services, WIC, and family planning. All these programs are operational, on track to meet or surpass our goals. COVID-19 updates. COVID-19 is still considered low using the CDC's hospital admission metric in Rutherford County. There are some early indicators that, like test positivity, emergency department visits are up slightly, severity indicators up slightly as well, hospitals and deaths, but very lightly. As you may have heard there, just anecdotally, it seems to be around, but maybe perhaps not so severe, and we are very thankful for that. The big news with COVID is on Thursday, August 23rd, the Food and Drug Administration approved and authorized updated vaccines from both Pfizer and Moderna. And because COVID is continuously mutating, it can evade protection from older COVID vaccines. So in June, the advisory committee to the FDA selected the primary target to be the KP2 variant, and that is that flirt variant that Commissioner McMurray noted last time. And just on that, that's not the medical community trying to be cute. The FLRT, those are the prevalent amino acids that have mutated, and that's what they're targeting there. We look for those new COVID vaccines to arrive as soon as September, and we will update you as soon as they do. Recommendations will be much the same as they were, 6 months or older, or 65 or older, especially to prevent severe disease, severe illness, and the immune compromised especially. Guidance on that: if you were recently infected, as many of us were, you can wait 4 to 6 months from the time you were infected to get a new vaccine. If you have not recently been infected or vaccinated, you may want to look at October and November to protect yourselves through the winter months. On to flu. The new fall flu shots have arrived at our health departments and will be available in the coming days. We do accept insurance for those, or for the uninsured, we charge on a sliding fee scale based on declared income. And then, as I'll note later on October 15th, those will be free on that day and going forward at health departments. International Overdose Awareness Day is August 31st, and observed on that day every year, International Overdose Awareness Day seeks to create a better understanding of overdose, to reduce the stigma of drug-related deaths, and create change that reduces the harms associated with drug use. There are those of us in this county who have family members, loved ones, or neighbors struggling with opioid addiction or abuse. And to that point, I'd like to make known that naloxone, or Narcan as it is more prominently known, is now available free of charge at our health department and at any health department in Tennessee. So anyone can go into the health department and request it. They will be provided with an overdose reversal kit and instructions on how to use it at no cost with no questions asked. There are other resources available as counseling, and the Tennessee Red Line has done local addiction referrals since 1989 and have helped thousands of Tennesseans find a path. So that number is 1-800-889-9789. That's 1-800-889-9789. People can call or text that number. That's a feature I like, is that they now receive text. And as we all know, that anyone my age or under prefers to text. So that's a great way of just getting that conversation started. Upcoming events for us, September 19th, the Ascension St. Thomas Mobile Mammogram Unit will be at our downtown Murfreesboro clinic. Screenings provided to women 40 or older, and we are pleased to say that we have maxed out our appointment list and look to provide between 20 and 25 screenings that day to those who need it, and also just to spread awareness about the need for annual breast exams, recommended annually for women 40 and up, or every 2 years for 55 and older. And we are also presently accepting donations for our annual Coats for Kids campaign. If any individual or organization has a new or slightly used winter coat they would like to donate, please drop them by either health department location, Murfreesboro or Smyrna, from now through mid-October. And this was put together last year by our CHANT program. Those are our social workers at our health department. And we anticipate delivering those coats to children and families at our Fight Flu event on October 15th, where on that day any parent or guardian can come to the health department in Murfreesboro and pick up coats at our location on 100 West Burton Street. And finally, on October 15th, that's when the Tennessee Department of Health statewide Fight Flu event will be. On that day and after, flu shots will be free in our clinics. More precise details to come about that day's event, but they will include walk-in flu shots at both our locations, Murfreesboro and Smyrna, and at least one off-site location. And, Mr. Chairman, that does conclude our report.
Chairman Phillips.
Mr. Cumby, October 15th is probably the optimal day. You were getting into weather changing and
Yes, sir.
Flu season starts kicking off. Can you get vaccinated for COVID and flu at the same time?
You certainly can, and that's a great question. Lots of places actually recommend that because they know it's hard to take time out of your day to come back separate times, and those are two vaccines that are perfectly compatible. Yeah. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Chairman.
Question.
Oliver.
You mentioned, Director Cumby, KP2, but I was reading today about KP3. I thought the vaccine was going to be targeting the KP3 and 3.1.1, whatever.
Right. Since they made, now those all have roots in the same variant. So since that recommendation was initially made in June, they were basing that on the KP2 variant. But that's not far from, and any further developments won't be far from that. So they do expect it to be very effective, especially in preventing severe disease. It could prevent illness, but more than likely, it'll prevent you from getting severely sick if you do get sick.
And as far as your numbers are concerned, you're still just looking at hospitalizations, because I have been reading how COVID has spiked and a lot of communities are seeing an uptick. So you're still just basing your reports on how many people are hospitalized?
As far as the hospital admission metric, for it to be low in our community, I do have some more specific numbers. Test positivity, 18%. Emergency department visits, 2.5% up. So that's a gentle rise, but not one where I would say it would cause alarm. And then let's see, hospitalizations up 4%. So just looking broadly at the national trend, it does seem to be descending. So we look at COVID now like it may be taking 2 peaks a year, one in the summer and one in the winter. So
Seems like it's going to be with us like the flu.
yes, ma'am, absolutely.
And I had another question. With the coats for kids, what ages or sizes are you looking for as far as your donations are concerned?
Saying 18 and under, because we do have some high schoolers that are still 18, but as you know, they come in all sizes, and we won't turn anything away. Anything that we can't give out, or we will repurpose that and get it to a charitable organization.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Davidson.
Hey, I wanted to add to that, will there be some type of flyer that we can share to get people to come and donate? And then also, I think you said October 15th was the pickup date. Could we get another type of social media flyer maybe, so we can all share that for the
Absolutely. We intend to provide that to our county PIO, but I'll make sure it gets mailed out to you all, if you don't mind. I don't want to fill up your mailboxes, but yes. Thank you for helping us spread the word.
Mr. Gooch.
My mailbox is already full, so just bring it on. But yeah, after you did this report, you just listed a litany of exciting things that the health department is doing for the community. Starting next month, could we have maybe like a one-pager of all the activities that we can take with us to be able to maybe help promote, along with any flyers?
Certainly.
Just so much.
Yes,
So
yeah.
is that okay,
I'd be glad
Mr.
to
Chair?
bring something and send it with you, and that way, you could have something in the moment.
Okay. Hey,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for that suggestion.
Mr. McMurray.
I have a quick question. In regards to the numbers and stuff that you get in, do you get the numbers from like the urgent cares, these places like that, or does it?
They
is it factored
do.
in?
They
Do
do
report those?
report. Those are what's called sentinel agencies, and so there's a broad sampling, especially when it comes to influenza-type diseases. So,
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
And then also, of course, you know me, I'm always, working in the healthcare field. I kind of stay on top of what's going on.
Yes.
Have you seen any rising cases of in teens, in particular, regarding the what's it called, the parvovirus, B19? It's kind of that infectious disease is contagious.
Not that I'm aware of. Not that there's been a rise there, but that's something we'd definitely keep an eye out. I'm not sure if that's a reportable disease to CDC, but anything that is, our disease intervention people, our epidemiologists, they do report that, and so it would appear in numbers.
Perfect, thank you. And then lastly, is there an event on Friday, you may have said it, in regards to the Overdose Awareness Day?
There is, and forgive me, I don't have that information with me. That's not put on by the health department, but we do have a poster at our health department clinic, so I could try to relay that to you as well if you'd like.
Perfect, yeah. And if you all want to see it, the courthouse is lit up in purple.
Right.
So it's for this week. So thank Miss Rachel for doing that as well. So just, it brings awareness. Because a lot of times when people ride through here, they'll see, why is the courthouse lit up in different colors? And I think that's a good thing. It allows people to figure out why we've lit the courthouse up in a certain color. So this week is for purple, for Overdose Awareness Week and Day. So appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Very nice. Thank you.
Commissioner Wilson.
I move to approve the report.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposition? Thank you. Motion passes. Now we have an opportunity to consider a pass-through grant from the state of Tennessee. Director?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our second agenda item tonight is the annual grant contract between the state and the county. This is pass-through funding that the county will bill the state for reimbursement throughout the year. And of our 84 employees that we have at the health department, 47 of those are funded through this contract. It covers salaries, benefits, travel, liability insurance, and other things. And so moving this through the committee will enable our county finance department to begin billing for reimbursement for fiscal year 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And I see the county signs this, so we will be on the board, please.
Commissioner Oliver,
Aye.
Commissioner Davidson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd,
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Chairman Dodd.
Yes.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Byron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good night. Next, I would draw your attention to the minutes of the Community Care of Rutherford County. We had a report, Commissioner Phillips has asked me to postpone a report till next month. We had questions last month. Where should community care report? Or is it a health concern or is it a landlord concern? And over the 60 years plus that it's been an entity, it may have changed. So Commissioner Phillips asked for one more month to present that to us at our October meeting. Is that sufficient, Chairman Phillips? Ma'am? September meeting. You know, I said September 3 times tonight when I introduced us. Jeff, I feel your pain, man. No other information on CCRC. We will move on to school board because Michael's not here for special projects. Oh, he is here. Excuse me, Mike, I was looking for you up here. Would you care to share some special projects updates? Thank you.
So I think everybody has two handouts. I'll tell you what they are, and then I can answer any questions about them. The first one that I handed out is the periodic progress report that we do for Fund 189. Same format kind of as always. It's just been updated till after we close the fiscal year. And so that's kind of where we stand with all of the projects there. You know, and we do have quite a bit of money in there, but if you'll notice, most of that money is aligned with those big high school additions as we, you know, are still working through those. So that money is allocated and encumbered for those projects. That's where the bulk of that money is. But the school system does have several projects going on, and so just wanted y'all to have an updated list there. The second thing that I handed out was a request by Commissioner Gooch, who I believe passed on a request from a couple other commissioners. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. In the past, the school system has provided a 5-year capital building plan. That is before you. I've taken off some of the projects that y'all have already approved. So these are projects still pending or that have been discussed. I was asked to add some projects that the county has discussed. That doesn't mean that they're approved. That doesn't mean that that's y'all's wish to do them. They've just been discussed in various committees so that y'all kind of have a full list kind of in one sheet, a one-sheeter of some of the large projects that are coming down the pipe for the county or that potentially could be. A couple other things in there is these amounts are completely estimates. So I mean, obviously until we bid them or until this body directs, they're just that, estimates. And then there's a column for funding or potential funding. That's kind of like if you asked me today where I would recommend that money coming from. Again, that would still be up to, you know, this body and the full commission's purview, but at least you kind of have an idea of kind of where my thoughts are, or y'all could fund some of these things if you wanted to. And so you'll notice there's several things that are either a bond issue. There's some things that'll say a combined bond issue fund balance, and I'll give you one example. One's the Laverne High School edition. You'll notice it says bond issue and fund balance. And if y'all remember, we did, out of fund balance, put some money in there to start that design process. Same as I believe you're going to see a budget amendment tonight from the school system. And so that's pretty normal, where we'll fund the design either out of some previous bond issues or out of fund balance money, and then we'll fund the construction with a bond issue, a future bond issuance or something like that. We'll give you a second to look over that and see if y'all have any questions on that. I know that was fast.
And so under column B, at the bottom of page 5,
Which report, you looking at the building progress report?
Fund 189.
Okay.
So you are putting in front of us items that have been discussed, items that are actually active, both. So some are wants that may be looked at in the future, would be a $324 million in expense. That would be.
No. Two separate things. So two separate things. That is separate from the other sheet that I provided. So this is where we stand today. These are active
That's
projects.
what I'm looking. Okay, got it.
So that just means amended budget. We've either borrowed that money or somehow shifted money to that project.
324 is in debt service.
Well, $324 or $324 million was the total budget or funding for all of the projects that are on here.
Got it.
Some of them are at 90% completion. Some of them are at whatever the high schools are at.
So the
This is just currently, all of these projects are currently underway, or have just finished, or have just started.
And the 151,496,158 on the far right
That's
hand.
cash that we still have in the fund. Now, and if you'll look up to, for example, if you'll kind of scan up on that same last page and look at Poplar Hill, you'll notice a lot of that is encumbered because they just started that project recently. And so that, there's $50 million in cash still sitting there for that project, but that's because it just started. And of course, the billings are always behind the progress. They're 2 months behind sometimes. So that is separate from the one-page sheet I handed out.
Yes. I was just asking some formatting questions, because we're going to have to obviously take these home. So,
and I'll be glad to address them, obviously publicly, at either full commission or budget, or meet with any of you privately. Whatever works best for anybody, I'll be glad to do that. I would not focus so much on the totals at the bottom of that sheet, because a lot of that $324 million of amended budget, a lot of those projects are either done, or these projects span multiple years. When you build a school, you're generally minimum going to span 2 fiscal years. 12 to 18 months probably for an elementary school, somewhere in that range. So that's why you'll see some of those numbers are large at the bottom. So really, I would try to focus on the project itself. A lot of them are either done or just started. And then I do want to point out one thing at the bottom, just in case there's questions. Every time we do a bond issue, there's a rounding difference when we're talking about that. That money does get spent and allocated to a project as we're closing things out. So you will see sometimes there's in this case, out of that 150 million, there's 32,000 that isn't allocated. We'll get that allocated and spent on one of the projects. It's just kind of how when we go to the close, it's kind of like closing on a house. We finalize everything that day.
thank you, Mike.
Recognize you.
Yes, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Chairman. You and I have had several conversations. I call you all the time. Sorry about that. A good way that I try to convey when I'm asked and when I'm doing public speaking about education funding, last year we had kind of talked about a good roundabout way for conversation with folks, and I want to ask you if it's changed. We kind of equated in layman's terms that for about every $50 million in bond issue, it was somewhere in the $3.5 to $4 million a year would be the annual payment for 20 years. It was a good way for people to kind of quickly do some math on what the revenue per year would be needed to pay borrowing money. Would you say that has that changed, or is that still a good rule of thumb? It lets people know, and I'm going to give an example. If we borrowed $200 million for a high school, that's 50 million times 4. If it were $4 million, it lets people know quickly we need $16 million recurring, 16 million recurring for 20 years just to pay that off. That's an easy way for us to speak to people, for them to kind of do the math as we're looking at all of these projects. I just wanted to say, is that formula pretty close, or?
It's pretty close. I think generally I'm about 70,000 per million, give or take. So I mean, you're in the ballpark. When you're talking numbers that large, there's a lot of variables, and the timing. We go to the market, the bond market changes daily. I mean, we try to hit it as best we can, but yes, you're in the ballpark, give or take a couple million.
And I have found that conversation easy to have when we're looking at, how much money do we have in fund reserves? And we're thinking about what's the best way to spend that as we're looking at these needs. We're very close to $1 billion here in just what we're looking at. So putting that in math on the kind of annual payment that would need per 50 million lets someone quickly do the math and figure out how much money we're talking about. So one of the things that prompted me to want to have this conversation last month and to look at all committees and future projects was, I feel like we need a priority list as a full county commission on the order of which we think you need to fund things, to figure out what can we fund with what we have. And if we have, I'm just going to give an example, what if there were $16 million in fund reserves? Well, looking at this sheet, that shows, well, there could be a discussion to spend that in lump sum on a forensic center. But that could also be paying an annual payment off on a $200 million school. That's my thinking, is you have this money in there, how are we spending it? And is it recurring? Or is that reserves in there from leftover and it's a one-time spend? That's the conversations I would like to have, because we know the school board is asking us for the Laverne High addition, the middle school, and that high school is coming hot and heavy before we get out of this particular budget year. Doesn't mean we need the funding for it, but we're going to be asked for it. So I feel like we need to have these conversations. And I know, Chairman, we talked about this already, that we would, after committee assignments, we would start looking at committees putting together some type of master list and kind of discussing the priorities of how we want to go about it. So thank you for this. This is very helpful. Thank you, Commissioner Gooch, because this is a great way to start looking at the overall picture of what we're looking at needing to fund and find money for over the next 3 to 5 years.
And if I could clarify a statement there, as y'all look through here, pay close attention to, these are large numbers, but I do think this county has been very diligent on savings and being responsible, because if you'll notice, there's several things on there that don't have the word bond issue next to them. They tend to be smaller county projects, but those are still things we're not paying interest on, right? And so I think tonight you're going to see a budget from the schools requesting some design money for the new middle school. Well, we're not paying interest on that money. We're not borrowing that. And so I do think, while these numbers do look large, as you start to tick things off, there is an opportunity here for us not to borrow $900 million. That would not be my recommendation. And so my hope is, as we talk about this broader plan as a whole, and this may be a larger conversation for budget, but that we look at our capital planning as a whole, schools, county, and that we do that in conjunction with some refinancings or refundings that we did one last year, and we're looking at one potentially coming this year at some point. And so a lot of this also plays into, when does our bonds roll off? And so I've tried to help structure that to where we do have significant things rolling off in the next 5 to 10 years to free up some capacity. So while this is challenging, I don't want to downplay that. I do want to say I am very encouraged that I think we have options, because there's a lot of counties that don't have those options. So I just want to look at the positives as well as the negatives there to say, I do think we have options, and I do think that especially the Budget Committee and the full commission have really helped set us up well as we've navigated some of these funding issues, and so I think we've been able to do that pretty well. So that's all I have for special projects. I know that was kind of a lot on a couple pages, but.
Let's do so, sure.
Move to accept the report.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Mike, thank you. Okay. That leads us to the school board report. Dr. Kay Martin is with us tonight. Hello, Dr. Martin.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me tonight. Want to share with you all some of our updates for the beginning of this school year. We have had a great start to the new school year. Knock on wood, it's been extremely smooth. I think it is our best start since our post-COVID era. So school's getting back to normal. It's been very refreshing. We have 51 schools operating. We have over 6,000 employees, about 3,800 certified staff and teachers. We have an excellent fill rate right now. We have in our certified positions, we currently have 20 openings. That is it. So that's really good out of 3,800 estimated staff. So out of those, we have, out of that 20, 11 of those are special ed positions. In our classified positions, we are a very positive fill rate there as well. Only 22 openings district-wide. 7 nutrition, 7 custodians, 6 EAs, 1 bus attendant, and we need 1 school secretary. So our administrators are working daily to fill those positions, and they're in different stages of filling those, whether they're in interviews or getting everything processed and passed for hiring. We are very grateful for Ms. Sheila Bratton and Coy Young, who have been serving for the last several years on our school board and for all their many years of service. And we are excited to begin our new school board era with Mr. Butch Vaughn and Mr. Sandvault as well. But we are very appreciative of Ms. Bratton and Mr. Young and all their support that they've given us through the years. And then to give you an update on enrollment tonight. So are you ready for this number? And we will get you a one-pager. We'll have that for you next time. That speaks my language, Mr. Gooch, so we will make sure that you have that. Our enrollment as of today at 1 o'clock was 52,000 students and 38. 52,038 students in 51 schools across Rutherford County.
A 1,000 up, Phil, about 1,000. Just a quick, the employment staffing is fantastic. We're used to hearing so many openings.
Great fill rates. Our principals, they work around the clock all year long, filling those positions throughout the summer. I think it also speaks to the funding that you provided with raises for both our classified and certified, that not only are they wanting to come to Rutherford County, but they're also staying once they get here. And so that is, we're very appreciative of your support for that.
So,
and then I think we
start of the school year and enrollment. Any questions? We'll move on. Or comments? Mr. Boyd.
The enrollment numbers, does this include the charter schools?
Great question. So it does include one of our charter schools for Springs and Power. Of that number, we have 179 students there. And at this time, ACAR, they're not using the Skyward Information System, student information system that we use, and they have not reported their numbers to us at this time. So it does include Springs and Power, but it does not include ACAR.
Then the other charter school that's not chartered in county, we don't know their.
Correct.
That doesn't include that number.
Correct, yes, sir.
Great question, though, Carl. And I don't think we need a motion on those reports. That's informational, so thank you for that. We'll move on to budget if you guys are ready.
Move on with the Batey Middle School?
Yes, ma'am, we'll
Okay,
do that one
all
first.
right.
And please consult the handouts. There was just some typos in the spreadsheet that hit the SharePoint.
We placed at your laptops or your iPads earlier for you. There are a few changes to both of those. With the one concerning the Batey Middle School project, we are asking to, requesting the design fee to come from the fund balance. This right now is our only request that we anticipate using the fund balance for at this time. But we are asking for that, and that would be, they changed your number there, so that was what the new pages, the new information that was placed at your desk, that's what that will reflect.
The SharePoint had the wrong 2024 budget fund balance as the first item on the spreadsheet, so we just cleaned that up with this hard copy.
So if you're doing some quick math, and I'll just remind you, I taught English for a reason, but if you're doing some quick math at your desk, out of this project, this is a $72 million project, and we're roughly asking for that design fee of 3.5%.
Thank you for that. I like that. Chairman or Vice Chair Wilson.
I just wanted to point out to the committee, and yes, we were doing math. If this is approved, the amended fund balance is about $100 million. I just want everybody to notice, did the math. It leaves the fund balance at 18%. Just so everybody knows that. If approved, our fund balance will still be at 18% of fund balance to the amended budget. Just wanted to pass that out. I'll go ahead and move for its approval.
Second, Mr. Boyd.
I think the motion needs to be forward to budget with a recommendation to approve. Correct, Michael?
Are you good with that? Just the motion is to forward it to budget with approval. So we have a motion, a second, to approve $3.7 million from Board of Education fund balance 141, excuse me, to be used for design of the Batey Middle School. Any discussion?
We do not have a name for that one right now.
Carla, call the roll, please.
I do have a question.
Yes, by all
I was
means.
trying to mull it around in my head how I wanted to ask. Okay, so funds were allocated for this project, correct? And so now you're trying to encumber this portion of the funds that were allocated for this project for design fees. Is that what's going on right here?
No funds have been allocated. This is a school that's on the horizon, and I'll let Michael touch that. So
help me then.
Mike, if you'll touch on that, please.
So we have purchased the land, they've done some site work, they have the elementary school. There is no funding in place right now for the middle school at all. And so this is their first request to fund the design phase. Once they get that design phase done by whatever architect that the school board chooses, they'll put that out to bid, and then they'll come back to this body for the full funding for the construction of that middle school.
Okay, so an architect has not been chosen?
I don't know if have y'all chosen architect, Trey? They have. But
So I was wondering, how do you know what number to ask for if you haven't worked with an architect yet?
So what they do is I mean, they'll have an idea of what they think that building's going to cost. And so let's say they think it'll cost, based on historical precedents, it'll cost $100 million. I don't know what it'll cost, just throwing out a number there. They have a fee set with their architect based on the RFPs they've put out in the past. And so they're going to request a portion of that fee. And then so let's say, though, that bid comes in at $110 million. When they come back to request the full money, they'll request that other piece if they need it. But most architectural contracts, and I'll have to defer to Mr. Lee if this is incorrect, most have a planning phase, design phase, and then they see it through the construction phase. So most of the time, we wouldn't have to pay the construction phase, right, if we didn't do the construction. So yes, you'd be out the planning and design phase, but generally most places try to cushion that a tad, because any money they don't spend of this 3.7 on design is going to roll into the project cost. It's just less money we have to borrow. So I hope that helps.
Commissioner,
Yes,
that
thank
was,
you.
that was the 3.5% number Dr. Martin mentioned earlier. So Trey, in his years of experience, assumes a school is going to cost $74 million, and the 3.5% is a kind of a market standard that they could use to get them started. And so the 3.5% was key.
They're going to look and see what cost per square foot is of other schools built in the surrounding counties, whether it be Wilson, Williamson, and so you'll know pretty close to the cost per square foot based on our design for in Rutherford County is probably one of the most efficient around, I'd say, just based on my experience from working around the state. And so we asked them, the reason you're always seeing such a round numbers, we asked them that for budget purposes. We could come in at 3,600,000 and some change, but it's just much easier to do that round number, and then we sure up at the end of the project.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Oliver,
Aye.
Commissioner Davidson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd,
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Chairman Dodd.
Yes.
Thank you.
Martin, continue, please. Fund 177.
Okay, and the next one, we also put a new form at your desk earlier too, adding the word increase in the middle of the second column there. That word was originally left off, so we added that there. But this is just our amendment. We are requesting the money there to fund the LED lights at our athletic fields across the district at our high schools.
Will this be at all of the athletic fields?
Yes,
or just
sir.
certain ones? Because I just want.
This will be all of our athletic fields. That includes high schools, football, baseball, softball, all of those sports that have that. Last year at Smyrna and Laverne, we went ahead and replaced all of those at the football fields there last year. And then this year we'll be including the baseball and softball at all of our high schools.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Chairman. Hey, Michael, just for clarification purposes from an earlier conversation, one thing I want to point out is the 34685, that's basically the general fund balance for 177. And one thing I want to point out was during the budget time just previously, we were working, I looked back at my old budget in proposed operation sheets, we were looking at an unassigned fund balance of about 6.2 million. And I think Michael mentioned after closing the books and stuff, it actually ended up closing at 8.3, is that right? So interestingly enough, the budget we were working with the whole time on what the unassigned fund balance in 177 would be has actually come out to be about $2.1 million higher when they closed. So if this is approved by the committee, after moving this from their unassigned fund balance for this into the maintenance and repair service for buildings, it's actually going to end up being about the same unassigned fund balance we thought we were working with all along. So this is one of those where it's in our favor. We actually found some additional dollars that they're moving around inside the same fund. I just wanted to point that out.
Dr. Martin, do y'all prioritize which lights get done first based on safety or the most bulbs that are out? Or
Yes, sir.
prioritize?
Yes, sir. We'll prioritize those just like we did last year with our Smyrna and Laverne fields. Those football fields, they were becoming a concern with us for safety, and so we went ahead and addressed those, and then we'll just prioritize those and hopefully be complete. Mr. Lee, you can correct me, hopefully by February, March, this half the district will be completed at that time. So we will have to prioritize, but we will choose the ones that need the most repair first.
I move for the approval as presented and to forward the budget.
Any further discussion on moving $2 million from 177 for LED lighting at ball fields? Seeing none, Carla, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Oliver,
Aye.
Commissioner Davidson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd,
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Chairman Dodd.
Yes. Dr. Martin, that may conclude your business. We have one question from Mr. McBride.
Yeah, actually, I have two quick questions. This is in regards to Poplar Hill Elementary. Will the middle school be on the same property as the elementary school?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The reason why I asked, I've ridden by, I don't know who I should ask. Okay, it just seems like it's not going to be enough room, but it's just my opinion. But and so thank you for that. And then the second question is, are we working with the city or the county in regards to the infrastructure on the roads? Because I'm already hearing complaints. It borders my district, so I'm already hearing complaints. And at 7 a.m., I see the traffic already backing up, and the school
Yes,
has
sir.
not even been built. So I just want to make sure we have those.
I will invite Mr. Lee up to answer those specifically.
He's had more conversations with those
Okay.
people at the table, so I'll let him address that.
Number one, is there enough room? And then number two is how's the road network repair infrastructure?
The design is for two schools. With a middle school, we don't have to have playing fields. We have practice fields, but we're going to build a new prototype to our middle schools. We've taken our one-story middle school and moved a wing on top, so it's going to be a two-story.
Okay.
Middle school's going to take a little less footprint, which is going to leave us room for the practice football, soccer, baseball, and softball fields. So yes, sir, there is plenty of room. It'll actually be, if you've been out there, which I know you have, it would be to the north, to the rear of the current construction. It'll be behind it.
Behind it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
And the second question was about roads, I think?
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of questions already from those who live out in Shelton Square or whatnot. The traffic is already backing up at that four-way stop, and then also on, is it Baker Road, wherever the schools are being built. So they just want to know, are there going to be expansions to those roads out there?
Mr. Brooks and I have met with the city, and the city has a plan to work on that intersection at Blackman and Manson. It's a fairly aggressive plan. We have also worked with the city as well. The city has asked for some additional road widening included in the project that we currently have. The elementary, we have extending down to Blackman and Baker, that three-way intersection. Mr. Brooks and the Highway Department is going to assist us with that, and we think we're going to be there. They will be able to signalize it. There will be a signal there, and then we're going to continue that three-lane on south toward Manson Pike for a certain distance. And I don't want to give you a number because I don't want to give you the wrong number, but it's a fairly decent. So there are road improvements built into what we are currently doing, and the County Highway Department is also involved with that. We've met with the city. We've also met with our county engineers. So all of that is in place. We're anticipating having the vast majority of the road work completed, our portion, by the time the elementary school is opened. The city will probably not have that intersection completed by then, but I think they have some plans to get that work started fairly soon, and I don't want to speak for them, but it is also on their radar.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Trey, I believe Mr. Lee, both ends of Baker Road is a part of the current efforts.
There
The
is some
Blackman-
future. Yes, there's some future at Blackman and 1 Mile Lane, but Baker and Blackman, we will be addressing all of that at this time. Yes, sir.
I know the city's taking contributions, and new developments are paying contributions towards the intersection. They sound like they're going to ramp up pretty quickly. The four-way stop at Burnt Knob, that's the big one. Thanks, Mr. Lee.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Martin, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other business before this committee? I'll take a motion for adjournment. We're adjourned.